It's amazing how much of an unflinching and unrelenting loathing that people have for The Last Airbender. I mean, granted, a lot of people went in uncertain because M. Night Shyamalan, who'd been on the losing streak for years, was the one handling the film, both writing, producing, and directing. But at the same time, this was an adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It had such a great show to work from. Heck, one of the best animated, if not one of the best shows ever made. How in the world could it fail? And I guess maybe because people asked the question, it became a possibility. It became a hypothetical. And it became possible. And as a result, despite the movie's box office success, it was instantly panned by critics and gained nothing but animosity from fans and non-fans alike. And I was not quick to jump down this movie's throat the same time everybody else was. I tried to give the movie a little bit of its shot back then, a little bit of a chance, but years later, while I still don't have the seething hatred, I can acknowledge this is a bad movie and a bad adaptation of the show. Here's the plot, in case you don't know. Long ago, the four nations, water, earth, air, and fire, live in harmony until the Avatar, the master of all four elements, keeps the peace between them. However, after the Avatar, the new Avatar, a young boy named Aang, an airbender named Aang, played by Noah Ringer, ends up frozen in a block of ice. The air nomads are wiped out by the Fire Nation, and the Fire Nation seeks to take control of everything around them. 100 years pass, and siblings of the Southern Water Tribe, Katara, played by Nicola Peltz, and Sokka, played by Jackson Rathbone. Yes, I know the pronunciations are different, and that's a whole thing. That's one of the least difficult things about this movie to get through, though, if you're asking me. Are the ones to finally free him from that ice and have to help him get to the Northern Water Tribe so he can learn the next element, waterbending. While Aang is also trying to adjust to his role as the Avatar and is also trying to come to terms with the death of his people and learn the waterbending. Prince Zuko of the Fire Nation, played by Dev Patel, is a disgraced son of the Fire Lord who is seeking to capture the Avatar in order to regain his honor and be accepted by his father, Fire Lord Ozai, played by Cliff Curtis. Zuko is helped by his uncle Iroh, played by Sean Taub, and at the same time impeded by the smug Commander Zhao, played by Asif Mondavi. Eventually, they get to the Northern Water Tribe, and with the help of Princess Yue, played by Seychelles Gabriel, they seek to defend both the North from the Fire Nation, as well as be able to have a spiritual connection to helping Aang further his quest. Can they do it all? Well, with only this movie, this only being an adaptation of the first season and the second and third seasons not getting the film adaptations, well, I suppose you could assume where it goes from there, but at the same time, yeah, basically, I was willing to accept that this movie might have sequels, and it was successful enough to justify a sequel, I suppose, and Shyamalan had worked on a sequel, but at the same time, a realization I come to is that because of how horribly received this was, despite the box office numbers, I mean, a sequel is just not a practical decision. There'd be a huge, huge drop down from what this movie made. And the fact that Nickelodeon still shows it on TV from time to time, I'm kind of surprised. Like, I figured they'd be more ashamed of it for that reason, but maybe they're just trying to save face. Okay, so what I think works about the movie is, well, the visuals, I think, work, and the costumes. Everything looked... there is a lot here that looks like the show, and I think that does help to try to pull a idea into it as to how they try to approach making an adaptation of the show into the movie. And heck, they're only doing the first season. They're not doing the whole show, which is 61 episodes. But they're still doing 20 episodes. And you know that because this movie's only an hour and 43 minutes, with like 10 minutes of that, I suppose, being end credits, not even... Well, you know they're not going to be able to address every single thing in all 20 episodes. And because I'd struggled with... Now, to me, no Harry Potter movie is a bad movie. Every Harry Potter movie is a good movie. And yeah, I'd even extend that argument to The Crimes of Grindelwald. But at the same time, The Order of the Phoenix and The Half-Blood Prince, they have the lowest standard with me because compared to the books, they feel too bare bones. Here, I went in expecting a bare bones adaptation of the show, and it's because of that I wasn't too disappointed with what I got. I knew that this movie wasn't going to be able to address everything. In fact, it was probably going to address less than anticipated, and sure enough, yeah, again, it met my standards pretty much, if not just was barely underneath them. So that's why, because I mean, something like Doug Walker, he went in not expecting a lot of this film, and thus he wasn't, while he was disappointed with it, he wasn't as disappointed as he could have been. So that does explain as to why this film with me doesn't have or earn the animosity it does with everyone else. Again, although I will also say there are other pitfalls of this film other than just what it has in content. It explains a lot. Well, granted, I'm not too much against giving things explanation, but at the same time, yeah, a lot of what you're being told about, you should probably see for the benefit of being more invested in the story. And this movie doesn't do that, and it is to its detriment because of that. Also, the performances are not fantastic by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think they're awful, but at the same time, they are not good. Noah Ringer, I saw him give a far better performance in Cowboys and Aliens, which came out a year later, and I wondered what the heck had happened to the fact that he was so stale in this film, and yet was not stale at all in that film. And for the reason being is because, well, Jon Favreau, I suppose, got him to emote more than M. Night Shyamalan did. And, yeah, Nicola Peltz, that poor girl, she's always tried. I feel like it's not that she hasn't tried, it's just she always ends up, because she first had to take direction from M. Night Shyamalan with this movie, and then with Transformers Age of Extinction, which I don't hate, she had to take direction from Michael Bay. So yeah, you can, because she's not the best actress, you can see why they wouldn't have even brought the best that they could out of her in either of those films. If you've seen her in Bates Motel, she does emote better. She does deliver lines better. So, yeah, again, she has people who are... With that show, she had people who were better at bringing the emotions out of her and the characteristics of the acting out of her in that than they were in this or in Age of Extinction. Jackson Rathbone, I don't know what to say about him. I mean, he was in the Twilight series, so yeah, you can't help but think of that whenever you think of him or this. And again, Dev Patel, this guy eventually became an Academy Award nominated actor, and he is trying his best with the material, and he probably comes off as one of the better performers in the film for that reason. Again, though, there's not quite that much here. And I suppose I was able to forgive a lot with this movie because I had the show as a reference point. Anything that wasn't shown or expressed in the film, I could refer in my mind to the show. But at the same time, this movie needs to stand on its own merits. It needs to not rely on the show on your knowledge of the show, and it does do that heavily. And it's for that, and even then, it presents things in such a way that, yeah, either unless you understand the show, or amazingly enough, you're not familiar with the show, you can't quite follow this movie for either reason. And how did it do that? How did it manage to do both of those things at the same time? It's crazy to me. But yeah, again, because you get... And I can kind of respect the movie for not trying to recapture the exact same tone as the show, because I would have liked I expected it to be a more serious take, and I kind of wanted a more serious take with how goofy and humorous the show was. But at the same time, the humor and the lighter aspects of the show really did help form its identity, and the fact that it didn't go so heavy with the drama, it didn't bombard you with it. That was something that was actually really impressive, and really does give the show such a rewatchability factor that not many shows have. Well, plenty of shows have it, but at the same time, in the same way as Avatar, no. They don't have that rewatchability factor. Not to the same degree that you'll watch certain episodes again and again, just because of how much certain things worked. The comedy, or the visuals, the music. And James Newton Howard's music here, it works well with this film. But at the same time, and it works well as it's on its own. But at the same time, again, so much of what was done with this movie is done to such a far more impressive level with the show that you wonder what the point is to trying to make the movie. I mean, again, this is a film trying to do its own thing, and at the same time trying to do the exact same thing as the show. And it doesn't quite work on either one for that reason. I suppose, like me, if you can... So yeah, for those reasons, this is a film of a poor quality. Now, did it anger me? Is it the worst Nickelodeon movie? No. Did it anger me more than other Nickelodeon, or annoy me more than other Nickelodeon movies? No, it didn't. But at the same time, this does earn a place as in being of and deemed on the lower end of filmmaking. I mean, this film was a Razzie winner for Worst Picture, and you can completely understand why. And you wouldn't argue against it, even if you weren't 100% for it. So, again, if you're like me and you can see the movie for what it is and just know that it's a lesser film, that it's a lesser product in every way imaginable, you can't be too angry with it for those reasons. But if you are somebody who loves the show so intensely, and while I do love the show intensely, if you are somebody who loves the show intensely and you think this movie 100% falls apart because of it, you're certainly not wrong. So, yeah, this movie, for what it is definitely out of its elements.